Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of the beloved Aspire magazine, about to celebrate 20 years of inspiring, empowering, and supporting women to live their most authentic and aligned lives from the inside out. Did you know that Aspire is free? Always has been. You can claim your gorgeous digital issue delivered 6 times a year at subscribe2aspire.com. And oh yeah, it comes with dozens of bonus gifts from our contributors and supporters. So you all know one of my most favorite topics is talking about manifesting, being a creator of your life, co-creating with Source. And I am so excited to have a friend here with me, Dr. Peggy McColl, and I know you all know who she is a globally recognized mindset mentor, New York Times bestselling author, and the founder of Power Life Script. She's the author of numerous books, including the upcoming, now available for pre-order, I got to get that in there, The Moment of Alignment, the precise moment where intention becomes reality. With over 30 years of experience helping individuals, authors, entrepreneurs, and leaders achieve extraordinary success, Dr. McColl is known for her groundbreaking work in personal development, manifestation, and prosperity mindset. She has worked with audiences in over 100 countries, empowering people to align with their goals and realize their highest potential, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Peggy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Linda. Such a pleasure to be here. I love what you do. I love your vision. I love your magazine. And I love you. I think you're a wonderful being who serves the world in such wonderful ways.
Thank you, my friend. I've been following you for so many years, and I just love the message you put out. And when I saw that you had this book come out, I just loved the title instantly before even getting to know more about it. And I said, we need this message now more than ever. So I'm really curious. I always believe like we get a seed of inspiration. What was your seed of inspiration that led you to write The Moment of Alignment?
That's a great question. I've written several books, and, the idea of writing another one is never something that I'm consciously looking to do or to create. I will allow the inspirations to come to and through me. And so it was like a realization, the realization that the moment that we are aligned with our desires, in other words, feeling as if they are already in our life, is when they manifest. Now, of course, there's a period of time that's going to elapse before they show up in physical form. But when we feel it, when we choose to feel the emotions that we would feel were we to experience the result, and we embrace that as an accomplished fact, it will manifest, not maybe, but it absolutely will. So the realization came when I recognized the power of every moment, and that every moment is an opportunity. Every moment is an opportunity to align with what we desire. And it's also a moment to shift away from what you don't want into what you do want. So it was one of these experiences that I've had multiple times where it was like this just sort of bolt of inspiration came to me, and it was write that book, Peggy. And so I decided to do so, and that's where the idea originally originated. It was just a thought that entered my consciousness, and I decided to act on it.
See, I love that because really, isn't that the whole essence of manifesting?
Yes.
Most of us get a thought in an inspired thought, and then we what if ourself, how ourself, right out of the energy of the thought.
Right. Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
perception.
exactly. Mhm.
And I used to do that. Now my friends always say, "You're such a master manifester." I go, "I'm very aware where my thoughts are in every moment." And I think that's what you were talking about that moment of alignment. And we have the power. I always use the phrase recalibrate. So I teach my clients, the students in my Inspire Living University, that it's okay if you go there, but the moment of awareness, we have the choice to choose a new thought. And it's in that moment, right, of choice
Yes.
that we shift. So before we dive into the book, I'd love to know from your point of view, how is it different from other manifestation or self-help books that are out there? Because I've been following your teachings for years, so I know it's very different, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of like a culmination of the 47 years that I've been studying these materials. Because when I first began to study personal development, I was very young. I was like 19 years of age. And I was blessed to be in a seminar with the wonderful and the great Bob Proctor, who became a mentor of mine and then a friend of mine. And we actually shared the stage many times. And so I began to study Bob, and Bob, of course, had studied others, and like Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, Dr. Joseph Murphy, and I began to study them. And then one sort of teacher or master led me to another. And I was in a state of acquiring all this information, which did transform my life because I implemented what I was learning. And then created my own business as well to teach this stuff. But what I love is simplicity. That's what I love. And I've come to the realization that we create based on what you're just explaining that you do. And that is, where are we intentionally giving our energy in every moment? And I wanted people to recognize that it's not enough to read these books. You have to apply. But how do you apply? And how do you break those old patterns of destruction that many people are involved with? I was certainly involved with for many, many, many years. And how do you overcome any kind of, limiting belief or challenging experience that you've had in your life? And so for me, the moment of alignment is like it brings everything together that I've studied from all these years into a simple approach and a simple understanding of recognizing. And so it's the recognition of how we are creators and how to use that power, because we all have that power within us. I think about there's a great quote from Robert Collier that says, "There's not enough to know you have this power. You must put it into practice every hour of every day." So if you think about that statement, every hour of every day, that's really what the moment of alignment is. It explains, it's divided into parts, and it explains, how we are powerful beings, powerful creators. And then how do you use that power every hour of every day so that you can manifest what you desire? So I think it gives a clarity, it gives the understanding, and it gives the application. So to me, it's complete. I see this book as being something that people will carry with them. They will refer to often. It can become like a Bible of sorts, I guess. I've had that with some books that become your favorite or the ones that you love, the go-to book, if you will. And that's the way I see it. It is like the go-to book for manifesting.
Yeah, it's like the manifesting manual because it has actionable strategies in it.
Right. Yeah, good way of summing it up.
Yeah, well, because to me is what you just said. So, law of attraction and all of these teachings have been around for years, but I have so many friends that like, it doesn't work. I said, well,
Right.
there's your manifestation, right? And so what happens is they try it. It's like they just, like when you go out and taste a new food for the first time, but they don't embody it.
Mm,
They don't practice it. They think I'm going to think a positive thought and then life is going to unfold perfectly the rest of the way. And I go, it's a word you said, it's a practice.
hmm
It becomes part of who we are. Like off air, I shared some of my journey, and I swear the only thing that shifted in my world was my internal world.
Yes.
Once I got that, I completely transformed my life over the last 33 years. And like you named some of my favorites, like Bob Proctor, but I am drawn to all the old teachers, Neil, um, yeah, Norman Vincent Peale, and all of them. Those are the books I first picked up on my journey. I still go to them, Neville Goddard.
Yes.
Those, I still have some of the old copies. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, I really want to talk about, because in the subtitle, the precise moment where intention becomes reality. So let's break that down a little, because my whole company is about intentional life, intentional business. So to me, intention is everything. So I can't wait for this topic. My friends, stay tuned. We'll be right back. I'm with Dr. Peggy McColl. Watch for her upcoming book, The Moment of Alignment, the precise moment where intention becomes reality. It is now available for pre-order. So be sure to visit peggymccall.com. We'll be right back.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am thrilled to be talking about one of my favorite topics, about being the deliberate creator of your destiny. That's a phrase that the Peggy uses. And we're talking about alignment, intention, manifesting, all those juicy topics that we all love. So I'm really curious, right? Because the subtitle is The Precise Moment When Intention Becomes Reality. So what is that moment? And how can someone actually step into it?
Great question. You know, that moment is the moment of acceptance. That's the moment of assumption. And it's the moment where you imagine that what you desire is already here. You know, quite often when I'm doing a workshop with my clients, I'll ask them, what is it that you would love? And they'll declare what their desires are. And sometimes it's more money, sometimes it's more success or a specific result or a relationship or dream home or something that they can see, feel, and touch. And I'll say, okay, well, what does that feel like when you have it? And you will see them if you're observing them, if you're watching them visually, you will see them almost like look up. And then they begin to smile, and you see their shoulders relaxing a little bit more. And what they're doing in that moment is they're embracing the idea of having that desire in their life. That's the moment, right? It's the moment of acceptance where you accept it as done, even though there's no evidence of it in sight, even though you will have no idea how you're going to accomplish it. But that's part of the good news. You don't have to know how you're going to accomplish it. So that's the moment. Now, what people will do is they will be willing to say, okay, this is what I desire, and this is what it feels like, and they will embrace that feeling with the guidance. However, a moment later, they're out of alignment, right? They start thinking about what is, they start thinking about lack, they start thinking about some old way of being or something that they feel is holding them back or debilitating belief or whatever, and they've gone out of alignment. And so the moment where intention becomes reality is when you embrace it as an accomplished fact, but you must stay there. That's the difference. You must stay there consistently. Now, the likelihood that you'll stay there 100% of the time is pretty much unlikely. You know, we are beings that go, up and down, back and forth, and that's okay. You want to be more consistently aligned with what you desire than being unaligned or misaligned or not aligned. That's really what ultimately is what you want to do to manifest it. And think about this though. The truth is, Linda, when you feel that emotion or that feeling of the accomplishment, it's there. I mean, it's there, or you're feeling as if it is already there. That is pure alignment. And that is the moment where you are attracting it into your life.
I love this. And because from what I'm understanding that you said, it's almost too our emotions are telling us when we're in alignment and not. If it feels good, that's how I tell anyway.
Right.
Feels good and I feel expansive, excited, in joy. I go, oh baby, I'm aligned. When I start to feel constricted, fearful, going into the how and what ifs, I go, oh, I call it a glitch in my matrix. Like I have I can feel the energetic stream coming from the divine, and that's how I receive everything. And I can tell when what I tell my clients, I go, I had a glitch in my matrix yesterday, means that stream, I was causing an energetic glitch in it, so it couldn't be full. And all I have to do is come back into my thought processes and get out of the fear based. So, do you feel it in your body too, like as an emotion or an energetic sensation when you are out of alignment?
That's exactly it. I mean, you nailed it. It really does come down to notice, how do you feel? If you're feeling good, well, you're attracting good. If you're feeling bad, you're attracting bad. If you're wondering if you're in alignment and all the while you're worried or concerned or feeling fear, you're definitely out of alignment. And not that that is bad. You see, that's another important part of manifesting. You simply have to have the awareness to notice. Oh, okay. I see what's going on here, right now is that I'm not aligned. Okay, well, what do I need to do to get aligned? Ask myself, now that this is in my life, and this is Neville Goddard, right? You're a fan of Neville as
Oh
well.
my God, yes.
I love him. And, he used to say, ask yourself this question. Now that my dream is fulfilled, or now that my wish is fulfilled, how do I feel? And so that is one of the processes to put yourself back into alignment because you're directing your thought. Bob Proctor used to say, hold an idea with your will. And the will is a mental faculty. And what does that really mean? It means you're focusing on it, but not just focusing on the idea as if it's something in the future. You bring the future into the present. This is other Neville Goddard teachings, and that is that you're embracing it as done now, not coming, not on its way. I'm sure, Linda, you've heard Neville Goddard say there is a wide difference between thinking of a goal and thinking from a goal,
Oh,
right?
big. Yes, I love that statement, but it's so true. When I finally got that, because when you first say the statement, you're like, what does that mean? When you first,
Yes.
and then I'm like, once you get that and embody it, it's life changing.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the moment of alignment, right? It's like thinking from the goal means you're aligned, right? So how would you be thinking and feeling? Because as we know, Neville wrote a book called Feeling is the Secret. How would you be thinking and feeling were you to have that in your life? That's why he asked the question, now that this is in your life, how do you feel? Because it's our emotion that's going to draw it to us.
Yes, and there's something else you just said about awareness, because that one, like I have to embody something. That's how I learn. Like I can intellectually learn anything, but I got to feel it. I have to embody it and come to my own energetic understanding, because sometimes I used to be in my head a lot. And that awareness part was really big because I think many of us, especially if a trauma background, it was, I always thought I was a victim to my own thoughts. Like I didn't know, like when I'm in my 20s and
Mhm.
30s, I'm going back a long time, but I didn't know that thoughts were just thoughts. They pass through. We start to believe our thoughts as if they're our truth. And I think,
Mhm.
and that's what happened to me when I was younger. And then that whole topic of awareness came in, and it's almost like becoming the witness to our thoughts. That's how it was for me. And going, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to choose this one as it's going by, like the clouds in the sky, right? Once I got that, then I understood on a deeper level, well, if I'm seeing that I'm not my thoughts, then I have the choice which ones to choose. And that's when I started, as you just so beautifully shared, choosing the damn thoughts that made me feel good instead of I was focusing, as we all do, and some of us are programmed to do that from a young age, to think of the ones that really deplete our spiritual energy, sabotage our dreams. Have you found that the awareness factor, that is such, I think it's a really important key to this whole thing.
It's everything. I think it's everything. It really is. That was something that I really understood very early in the game, of this study, and back in 1979, is awareness. I think it became so evident to become aware. And what we're talking about here is what you're doing, and what you consistently do is you are consistent and you're persistent, and you're choosing to be aware. And I believe that that comes down to a choice. But anyone who picks up the books or listens to your interviews or read your magazine, they are all choosing to be aware. And so awareness is the foundation, but it doesn't start and stop. Awareness is something that should be there every day. And if we think about that quote that I shared earlier by Robert Collier, it's not enough to know that you have this power, you must put it into practice every hour of every day. Are you aware of what you're giving your energy to? Are you being aware? Because you know what? We're habitual creatures. And we're habitually thinking thoughts over and over again. We're habitually feeling things over and over again. And we're habitually doing things, sometimes the same things over and over again, and wondering why we're not getting better results. But if we chose to become aware and notice, like simply notice, is this thought serving me? Is this emotion serving me? Is it going to lead me to accomplish the goal that I desire or not? Is it destructive? Is this action actually supportive right now? I remember one time seeing Wayne Dyer on stage, and this is an example of awareness. And he had a banana in one hand and had a chocolate bar in another hand. And he said, which one of these is going to fuel your body? Which one's going to serve your body? Which one's not? Well, it's pretty obvious. It's the banana, right? But yet people will be, feeding their body with destructive things, whether they're foods or alcohol or whatever. And it's not that they're not aware. This is not good for you. It's that they're just choosing to ignore it. And as it relates to our thoughts, it is as critical as the food that you eat and the beverages that you drink, that you become aware. So I really believe awareness is the foundation for all of it. And its awareness should be there every single day so that you can notice, what am I giving energy to right now with my thoughts and my feelings? Is it serving me? Is it not serving me? If it's not serving me, then switch over to a thought and a feeling that will serve you. And sometimes it's as easy as just asking yourself a better question.
Yeah, I mean, I love this whole conversation. One of the things that I've had to learn to do is, stop in that moment. Like, so let's say you have, I don't know, family health issues, you love one, you're worried about something. Of course, times like that, you go, oh my goodness. The moment, and that just happened recently, that's why it's in my head with a family member. And I caught myself, Peggy. I caught myself, oh my God, what if, and then I put my hand on my heart and I go, Linda, are these thoughts the truth of who you are? And I always use my first name. And the reason is what I found for myself, and I now teach my clients, is if I asked a different question, I could go down the what if. But by saying, Linda, is this thought the truth of who you are? By saying my name, I'm doing a soul connection. My higher self's going to answer this question. And my higher self is always going to say, of course, that's not the truth of who you are. And so your book is filled with practices. Share some of the things that they can expect in it, like any rituals, practices, things that
Yes.
you turn to, because I know you love delivering actionable content that help people put these teachings into use.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's not enough to know this stuff. You have to be using it. And I am a real, application kind of person. Like I will find a way to apply it. One of the things is by being aware, like having that awareness, but to notice it, right? Like to do an actual tracking of your energy. And this is something that I had learned to do many, many years ago. And I actually put tools right into that book, charts that you can use, hourly charts that you can actually use to notice, like to have that awareness, to notice, what is the emotional experience that you're having in this moment? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? And then do it over a period of a week, right? To really, really notice that and to create the disciplines, like daily disciplines, so that you are implementing certain things. Like back in, I think it was around 1995, I created a process that I call Power Life Script. And I wrote about it in the book, The Moment of Alignment. And Power Life Script was where I decided I'm going to write out a script of my life the way I desire it to be. I'm going to write it in the present tense, very emotionally charged, and I'm going to record it and listen to it every day. Why? Because repetition will change the programming that's in your mind. And that is one of the techniques that I write about. And for me, it has been the most powerful technique that I have ever used in all of these years to change my programming. But more importantly, it has guided me and helped me to produce the results. So that is one of the tools. But I also talk about things that we do with regularity, that like breathing, you're breathing anyways, right? We're breathing all day long, like using breath anchors and to become aware of your breath and to notice that when you're inhaling, that you inhale and accept your good. And when you're exhaling, you're expressing gratitude for your good, even if it's not in your life right now. So I call that breath anchors. And that's one of the processes that I wrote about in the moment of alignment. You're going to be breathing anyways all day long. So let's use it for good.
I love this. And I love that Power Life script because to me, I think our soul, hearing our own voice in our
Hmm.
subconscious, that is powerful. So we're going to take a next break. And when we come back, I want to talk about the big question everyone always says, Lynn, to me anyway, is Lynn, why am I always struggling to get results? Even though I'm like taking all these courses, reading all these books. And you already gave the answer, but let's dive deeper into that. We'll be back in a moment, my friends. Please stay with us. I'm with Dr. Peggy McColl, author of the upcoming The Moment of Alignment. You can learn more at peggymccall.com. We'll be right back.
We can all use a little more peace and joy in our lives. Don't you agree? Counselor, best-selling author, and self-nurturing expert Kelly Grimes of cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com is passionate about empowering overwhelmed and exhausted women to live with more peace, joy, and meaning through the practice of self-nurturing. Through her experience working with individuals, speaking, providing workshops, and teaching professional and leadership development to forward-thinking organizations, Kelly knows that nurturing peace in the world begins from the inside out. That's why she created the free Cultivating Peace and Joy mobile app that brings you beautiful self-nurturing reminders, guided meditations, empowering practice tools, and daily prompts with an inspiring question to guide your daily self-nurturing practice. Download your free Cultivating Peace and Joy mobile app today at cultivatingpeaceandjoy.com.
Thanks for listening. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm the host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Dr. Peggy McColl. We're talking about manifesting intention, alignment, awareness, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today, Peggy.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much. This is fun.
Oh, I love this topic, so I'm like, I could ask you 1,000 questions. So, why do so many people struggle with getting results, even though they're like, but I'm reading all the books, I'm doing this? What do you think it is?
Oh, yes, I love that question. I remember I think it was around 1994, where I came to the conclusion this stuff doesn't work, right? It's like you were saying earlier, Linda, that, some of your friends would say that. And I get it. I came to that conclusion too. And it's not that the stuff doesn't work, it's the battle that goes on. You see, we have a battle that's going on within us, and it depends on how you were previously programmed or how your mind is conditioned. So for me, when I got into personal development, I had a pretty dark mind. I had a lot of limiting beliefs. In fact, I think it was primarily limiting beliefs that were in my consciousness. It was a pretty dark place. And so the challenge comes with, you're acquiring the information and you're doing the work, but then the constant pattern of thought is still going on that you're not consciously aware of, that you're not focusing on changing. And so it is the dominant way of being. It's like the dominant of two emotions is the one expressed. So the dominant emotions are negative and destructive. Not because you want that, because nobody wants that. The dominance is just coming from the habit. So you have to learn to break patterns. I'll give you an example of that. I was chatting with my husband actually, he's been retired for about 17 years now, and he's totally into sports, and he loves playing hockey, and he loves playing golf, and he loves cycling and things like that. And so my husband went out golfing the other day, as he does multiple times a week, and he came back home and he said, "Honey, I'm going to quit golf." And it's like, okay, all right. So what's going on? And he had a real bad game on the course, that particular day. And so I said, well, explain to me what was going on. And I said, you know what to do, honey. Like, I think he forgets who he's married to, so he's not applying. I mean, he's not into personal development. Not that that's a good or bad thing. He's a pretty happy guy, and he had great programming as a kid. But I said, and he said, well, maybe I just need to practice more. And I said, well, maybe. But I said, where the challenge is in your mind. Because he explained to me that what happens is he'll get up on the course, he'll or get up onto the hole and he'll put his ball on the tee and he'll get ready, he'll focus on where he wants his ball to go, etc., and takes his swing. And as he comes up with the backswing, he starts to feel anxious. He starts to feel nervous. He starts to think, I'm going to screw this up, right? And so what does he do? He messes it up. His ball, he'll loft the ball. He'll end up going right or going left or going, 12 feet instead of 250 feet. And so, he's frustrated. And it's almost like he has an expectation that this is going to happen. I said, honey, you have to break those patterns because it's good that you're aware. It's really good that you're noticing, but you have to be more relaxed and just allow the excitement and the joy of knowing that your ball has gone exactly where it needs to be. But relaxation is a big part of success, right? Being more relaxed in the knowing that it is already done, that the ball went where you wanted to go, etc. So the other evening, my husband and I drove down to New York to the state, and we're in Ontario in Canada, but New York is a 30-minute drive from where we are. So we drove down to meet up with a young man who's a baseball player, and he wants to play in the major leagues. And right now he's playing for a farm team. And so he's going to be part of something that I'm doing, which is a reality TV show that I will be releasing called Aligned. And this young man is going to be part of it. So I went down to meet him, and he was playing a very important game the following day. And one of his challenges was that he would choke when he would get on the mound. Like he has the ability, like he'd be in practice and he'd be, throwing 95-mile-an-hour pitches, and he'd be, having, perfect games in his mind. But as soon as it came to the real game, like where you're stepping out there and all the other players are there, he'd choke up. So I asked him to explain what's going on. What's going on in your mind? He says, like, I'm feeling out of control. It's like all of a sudden. So what is he doing? He's directing his thoughts where he doesn't want them to go. And so you want to create a new pattern. You want to create a new way of approaching this where you redirect your thoughts. So one of the things I taught him is to smile, because when you smile, you're feeling relaxed, to be relaxed and to just give thanks, to feel gratitude that that pitch was the perfect pitch, and so I had a conversation with him Monday evening, had dinner with him, and the next evening I got a text saying he pitched for 6 innings and he had no hitters every time. And I think he didn't finish the game because they brought in another pitcher. But if he had to pitch the whole game and no one hit, they call that a perfect game in baseball. But that only occurred because he redirected his thoughts. So I said to my husband, I said, honey, you were there, because he came with me for the drive and for the meeting. And of course it's about sports. So Danny definitely wants to be there. So I said, you were there, honey. Like, you heard me explaining this to Quinn, like, just do the same thing with your golf shot. And he's like, oh yeah, good idea. So yesterday got out in the golf course again, and he came home, he goes, well, guess what? I'm not quitting golf. And I said, great. And he said, I had a great game. I put into practice what you suggested. And so it really comes down to, and I get it, it takes time, and that can be one of the challenging things, is if you're not seeing the results right away. I think one of the biggest areas to overcome is denying the evidence of the senses. Another Neville Goddard teaching, as we know, or Bob Proctor used to say, stop looking at your present results, right? And that's what people do. They keep looking at their results. They're like, they want more money, but they keep looking at their bank account, or they keep looking at their credit statements, and they're, remain emotionally involved in that. You've got to break the patterns and create new patterns of thought, new ways of being. And sure, it's going to be messy. It's certainly going to be messy for a little while, but if you give it your conscious attention, you can change it.
Oh, what a powerful story. Ian, what's beautiful is he's finding that out, the baseball player, at such a young age, that one key lesson is going to transform his career, but it's also gave him a tool that he will have for the rest of his life.
Right. Oh
You
my
know what I
goodness,
mean? And
yeah.
like, I love stories like that. And I have two grandchildren, 25-year-old and a 13-year-old. So I've always raised them with spiritual principles and where's your mind right now? If you
Right.
tell yourself you're going to fail that test, it's already done. You have
Yes.
knowledge, it's in there. I want you to tell yourself and really embrace that knowledge is all there, and it's going to all come forward to me when I sit down at the desk. because they, you know how you freeze? I have a test. I'm not
Yes,
gonna remember anything. I'm like, well, if you keep telling yourself you won't remember everything, then you.
right.
So what a powerful story. And my
Yes.
husband is still committed to his golf game.
Yeah, and he's gonna go out there and have some fun. You know, Linda, you mentioned your 13-year-old grandchild. I have a 13-year-old grandson, and recently he's decided that he's going to Juilliard. And he plays the piano like unbelievably well. It's like concert pianist kind of style. In fact, yesterday he FaceTimed me to share with me a new Beethoven song that he learned, and he does not read music. It's all by ear.
That's a
And
gift.
it is a gift. It's a total gift. And so he called me one day and he said, Grams, he calls me Grams. He said, Grams, did you hear about Juilliard? Because I had been chatting with his mom, Kayla, who works with me.
Hmm.
And so Kayla and I were talking about it because Kayla told me that James wants to go far, you know, with his music. He wants to be a world-class performer, one of the best in the world.
I love this.
Yeah, me too. And so, you know, she started to explain to him, well, here's what, you know, what some of the options are. And she had told him about Juilliard, and he, you know, went and did a little research, what's required, how can I go, and all of that. And then he called me and he goes, Grams, did you hear about Juilliard? You know, like he's going, you know, in his mind, it's already made up. I am going. And of course, my son, you know, gets involved and he's like, so how are you going to do that? And he's like, well, Grams tells me I don't have to know how. I just have to believe that I'm
Oh,
already there.
I love his comment because we'll always have these practical linear thinkers in our life, all of us, right? I have kids,
Right.
but I love that he said, I don't need to know the hows. Like that's
Yeah.
so empowering. And I always believe we're the nurturers of the next generation. We
Yes.
give all these children these tools. And then both my children are sensitives, highly intuitive, but especially the 13-year-old. And I'm like, I wanted to have all these gifts. I wanted to have this knowledge. I don't want
Sure.
to wait till I'm in, like I was in my 30s to go, what? There's a world. So, oh, I love that story, my friend. We're going to
Yeah,
take
it's
our
great.
final break and we come back. You just walked us through a beautiful real life moment about alignment. So when we come back, let's talk about how people can shift from hoping and waiting, which is a big
Mm.
one. Oh, I'm excited about this. Or to knowing and receiving, because this hope and wish thing keeps people frozen in my mind, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll be right back, my friends. Please visit Dr. Peggy McColl at peggymccall.com. As always, all the links are in the show notes. And be sure to pre-order her book, which is coming out at the end of October. You can pre-order The Moment of Alignment, the precise moment where intention becomes reality. We'll be back for our last segment.
It only takes one person to transform a relationship, any relationship. Relationship expert and Aspire magazine columnist Stacey Martino and her husband Paul are the founders of relationshipdevelopment.org and the Hay House authors of The Missing Piece, a proven method to single-handedly transform your relationship and create harmony in your home. At a time when divorce rates are sky high and families are unnecessarily suffering, The Missing Piece provides powerful solutions to help you navigate real-life situations harmoniously, regardless of what you're currently facing. The Martinos have successfully empowered thousands of students over 14 years with proven tools and strategies that work to transform their relationship, any relationship, without their partner's participation. Transforming your relationship is possible and begins with you. Start now by ordering your copy of The Missing Piece at missingpiecebook.com.
Thanks for joining us. You listen to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and I'm with the one and only Dr. Peggy McColl, and I am enjoying this conversation.
Me too. I
So,
love it.
so Peggy, what I hear a lot about is they're like, I keep wishing and I keep demanding, but they're waiting in this energy as if it's out there somewhere instead of knowing and receiving. So talk about your thoughts and beliefs around those two energies.
Yeah, I think it's a process that we go through, right? And it depends on what it is as well. Like with James, as I gave the example earlier, my grandson who's decided he's going to Juilliard. For him, he's not been programmed in negative ways. He's raised in this environment with having the father and mother that he has, and of course his grandmother as well. So, for him to go from hoping, to a state of knowing was an easy step, just like that. Snap your fingers, boom, I'm there. Okay, I'm there because he wasn't in his own way. He didn't have the battle that was going on of the old belief system. So for some people, it might be a lot easier. I think it also depends on the level of passion that you have as well. But hoping is a state that is on the way to the point of knowing. But the ultimate state that you want to be in is the knowing state, like knowing it is done, that it is here now. That's the moment of alignment. However, to get to that state, you have to practice it, right? It's like a daily effort. I know if I wanted to get my body into the perfect shape, let's say I decided I wanted to do bodybuilding, not that I do, but let's say I did. Well, what would I do to get there? Well, I'm not going to just go into a bodybuilding competition tomorrow going, hey, here I am, this woman who's decided that I'm going to compete in this. I need to train, and I need to train a lot. And depending on the shape of my body now, whether it's in shape, partially in shape, or in great shape already, you still have to train. You still have to train. So what is the training? This is the daily practice, right? This is where you're utilizing this great, wonderful power that we have, this imaginative power that we have to imagine it. I love in chapter 24 of The Power of Awareness, which is Neville Goddard's book, chapter 24, he wrote a book called Failure. And he says there's only one reason why people do not accomplish the goals that they desire is because that it doesn't feel natural. It must feel natural, right? It's like you, Linda, you mentioned earlier in this interview that you're a master manifester. You know that now because you've done it, right? Because you've believed it, because you worked on it, because you have manifested, but it started somewhere, right? Like what I do in my life too. It started somewhere, but I was willing to do the work and I was willing to do the daily application and willing to use my imagination. So when we use our imagination, this invites in the feeling of it being natural, feeling and knowing that this is my outcome. I think about James with Juilliard, or think about Quinn, who's the baseball player, or think about my husband Denny, who's going on the golf course. You have to feel naturally that I am, the world's best pianist, or I am the world's greatest pitcher, or I am a perfect golfer, or whatever that happens to be. You have to feel it naturally, but that's going to take some, repetition of using your mind with regularity until you get to the point of, oh yeah, it is done. I'll give you a great example of that, Linda. When I started dating my husband, I remember we we're standing in the kitchen and we're going out for dinner one evening. He came to pick me up. And my husband was in the military, and he was in the military for 30 years, and he was a pilot. And my husband's a very analytical, left brain thinking kind of guy. So we're standing in the kitchen and he's getting to know me, and I've been running my own business since 1994. And so he asked me this question. He said, what happens when you're not earning money? And I said to him, I don't understand that question at all. To me, it sounds like, some other language, like I'm always earning money. I'm a money earning machine. That's who I am. You see, that is a belief that I have. That's a knowing that I have within me that I'm always earning money. Where did that come from? It was built just like anything else. It was built. It's a knowing. So even if there was a period of slowness or perhaps, a dip or whatever, I'm going to get it back. Why? Because the belief is that I am a money earning machine. And so all these beliefs that support us, beliefs that help us get us to where we want to go, are all built. So what do you need to believe? This is a great question for people to ask themselves. What do you need to believe in order for you to have that? And then once you identify, what do I need to believe? Then you have to affirm that with conviction, with emotion, over and over and over again until it becomes natural. So that's the process. That's one of the reasons why I love the Power Life script as well, because it will invite in the feeling of natural, because you're listening to it over and over and over and over again. You reprogram your mind until you feel and know that it is you.
Oh, I love this. My question, the Power Life script, like that whole story, and I love that you're a master manifestor too and a money making machine, money earning machine. But I want to say, just from knowing your background and what you shared, that you had to recalibrate yourself because you came
Yes.
from a completely different background as I did, struggle,
Hmm.
lack, lots of stuff. And we had to do the work. So people look at me now and they go, "Oh, you're such a master manifestor." And I say what I assume you say is, "Well, I didn't wake up that way. I
Right.
I chose this. Like I
Yes.
keep choosing moment by moment."
Mm.
And you mentioned the Power Life script, and you do have it in the book. So do they learn the process in the book, or talk
Yeah.
more about that? Because I love.
Yeah. I created that process when back in 95, I had bought a home at the time and I was going through a divorce, with my first husband and my son was a toddler at the time and I chose to buy a home. I didn't have the money to do it. And but I didn't allow that to stand in the way. I recognized that I have the power to manifest this. And so I decided to purchase a home without any money. And I knew that I had to really, cement that belief within my consciousness through the repetition, so that's when I created the script. Okay, so my Power Life script is a detailed description of me living the life that I choose. And that was, I, Peggy McColl, am living such a blessed life. I'm da da da. And I just described, I'm living in this home. I own it. I'm living here with my son. We go and we cycle in the neighborhood. We go to the nearby park. So I created the images that was vividly real to my senses. There's another Neville Goddard teacher teaching, right? Vividly real to my senses. And that's what the Power Life script is designed to do. It sparks the emotion of the feelings of having the desires that you have. Now, a Power Life script could be a few pages, it could be, 10 pages, could be, one page, whatever. And it doesn't really matter, or the order either. The idea behind the Power Life script is to script your life the way you would love it to be. So it's where you just take off the cap of limited thinking and think, what would I love? How would I love to live my life? And you describe that, but you describe it as if it's done and you make certain that you include the emotional part of it. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you touching? What are you tasting? Who's beside you? Where are you? And you describe it as accomplished fact. That's what the Power Life script is. But as I said, I've been using it for 30 years now, and it is the most powerful technique that I have ever used to manifest every desire. I've used it for everything. I use it to attract my husband. I use it for business. I use it for my New York Times bestseller. I use it for my reality TV show. I used it for health when I went through a health challenge a few years ago as well, just constantly feeding my mind.
I love this. And if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's on your website as a product program.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone, I know you're getting this little soul bumps, that you get when you're like, I need this. So I want to invite you, go to peggymccall.com, get the Power Life script, and of course, or pre-order her book, The Moment of Alignment. I got to tell you, we could keep going for hours on this conversation, Peggy. We have about another minute. Would you like to leave our listeners with a sacred message?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, just really get into the power. One of the things that we've been talking about here is, I was raised in struggle, Linda, you weren't raised with, the silver spoon in your mouth, etc. So, I feel it brought a gift, the gift of understanding, a gift of compassion, etc. But we all have that power. We all have it. It's not that it's, reserved for just a select few. And it's like that statement, anything that has been done, you can do that and so much more. So tap into the power and use it, use it every day to manifest anything and everything that you want in your life.
Mm, beautiful message, my friend. And I want to invite everyone again, as Peggy and I talked about, you can listen to this conversation, and we're honored that you do. But I want to invite you to actually take action. If you say you
Hmm.
want change, if you want an elevated mindset, if you want to shift your energy, if you want to change your life, I love to say take inspired action. Nothing will change without momentum. Nothing.
True.
And so I want to invite you. This conversation I know spoke to your heart. I always get so bumps when someone's saying something that really touches me. And so I want to invite you, pre-order the book, The Moment of Alignment, the precise moment where intention becomes reality. But don't just read it. Once you get it, I want you to do the practices. I want you to tap into all the wisdom and gifts that Peggy has included in this book. And of course, if you are really tapped into that whole Power Life script, grab that too. That's powerful. I can feel the energy of how fast that could work. So I want to invite everyone. I'm going to give you the URL again, peggymccall.com. And as always, all the links and social profiles are down below in the show notes. And Peggy, thank you for this enlightening conversation.
I loved every minute of it. Thank you for having me, Linda.
Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.